In this module, we're going to talk about nutrition facts. And let's break down what it means when you see it on different labels. So the list here you see is what we're going to cover in this short discussion. So we talked about the ingredient list, right? So after you read the ingredient list and identify what is in the food product, then we can look more closely at the nutrition facts to learn more about the fats, the proteins, the vitamins and minerals, those kinds of things. And we're going to start with the servings per container. So although a food item may appear to be just one serving by itself, like a really small package, like a little bag of potato chips, right? We often think that's one serving because it's so small. But if you look at the servings per container, it will often contain more than one serving, okay? If a package has 2 servings in it and the whole item is consumed, then you have to multiply the number of grams of fat and protein and fiber and calories. You have to multiply it. And that's just if it's, 2 servings. If it's 12 servings, you have to multiply it by 12 because the label is per servings per container. Okay. And we'll look at this a little closely in a minute. So then we'll look at the fat content. So the recommended dietary fat intake varies from person to person, but it's typically between 75 to 100 grams a day, right? And that's on a 2,000 calorie per day diet. So to give a reference point, a tablespoon of butter, which has a common serving size of 11 grams of fat, and 7 of those are saturated, right? Compare this to a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, which has 14 grams of fat, and 11 grams of which are monounsaturated, right? So in reading the label, the amount of fat per serving is not as important as the source and the quality of fat in the food, right? So the olive oil clearly has more fat in it, but it comes from monounsaturated, which is way healthier than 7 grams of saturated fat that we typically find in butter. Okay. And then the carbohydrates and the fiber. And remember, sugar and fiber are both sources of carbohydrates. So the fiber content listed per serving on a label can actually help you determine if a food product is a whole grain product. So in general, a refined carbohydrate product will have a low fiber content between 0 to 2 grams per serving. That is a refined fiber content. But a whole grain product, which is better for us, will generally have 3 grams or more of fiber per serving. Whole grain products will also have higher amounts of protein. Okay. And speaking of protein, you need to look at the protein section to determine if the food provides a good source of protein, especially if you're going to be doing some meal planning. So you need to consider that most adults generally need anywhere between 60 to 100 grams of protein a day. So a good rule of thumb is to aim for 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. Okay, 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. And then let's look at vitamins and minerals. And again, we'll do some practice in a moment. Packaged foods will often add vitamins and minerals to their products. This is in order to make their product have a higher nutritional value. But don't be fooled. Some of these products are still high in sugar, trans fats, and refined carbohydrates. And so these added nutrients are of little value. Now, rest assured, if you have a balanced diet and you eat fruits and you eat vegetables and you eat legumes and you eat whole grains, there's no benefit to eating a highly processed food with added vitamins and minerals. So anytime it says added vitamins and minerals, that is a definite alarm and to make you look at the rest of the content. Okay. And then there's sodium. Sodium is Salt is composed of sodium and chloride, right? So many packaged and processed foods contain high amounts of sodium. They only do that because it's, people like the taste of salt. We are overly addicted to salt, by the way. Salt and sugar are the two biggest drugs in America. And we're so addicted that if there's a very little salt content, people lose their mind and add so much salt. So salt is good. I mean, it makes food taste better to some people who haven't cleaned their palates. And it's also used to preserve the food. Now, for some people, this extra sodium in their diet can cause high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, and kidney disease. But on the other hand, and this is something we very rarely hear about, limiting the amount of sodium in our diets also have its own health risk, right? You have to have some sodium in your diet. So, what is a recommended daily intake of sodium? Most organizations recommend 5 grams of salt per day, which equals about 2,300 milligrams of sodium, or 1 teaspoon of table salt a day. 1 teaspoon a day. Most people use 1 teaspoon per food ingredient they're making. It's in their vegetables, it's in their meats, it's in their potatoes, it's in their macaronis, it's in everything, right? So it's not difficult to go over that limit very easily. Canned goods, boxed foods all have excess sodium, as well as some chemical additives that we talked about. So if you have somebody who's on a strict, budget or whatever, encourage them to rinse and strain their canned vegetables and their beans, canned beans, any canned goods. Rinse it because it will decrease the sodium content in that product. Okay. So now let's practice. Let's practice looking at some labels. All right. So we talked about that hidden fat. Let's take a look at it here on these two labels. As you can see, both of these labels say 0 grams of trans fat. 0 grams of trans fat. But if you look at the ingredients list, they both have partially hydrogenated vegetable oil or soybean oil, right? Or cottonseed oil or hydrogenated oils, right? It's full of oils. So you can't be fooled by that label that says trans fat. Do you see that there? Mm-hmm. And most people, most consumers who try to be somewhat health conscious, just look at the amount per serving label, right? They don't go all the way down to the ingredients. And that's where you, now as a trained reader, will make sure you look at the ingredients list. Don't be fooled by the nutrition facts. All right, let's look at another one. So here's a per serving label. Now, in my practice, this shocks more people than I thought. Right? To me, this is like common sense, but maybe it's because I'm in the industry. But most people look at these nutrition facts and don't realize this is per serving, right? So this one on the left-hand side has 72 calories from fat per serving. It has 8 servings in this box. So if you're going to eat more than one serving, you have to multiply that. 72, say you're going to have 2 servings, right? You have to multiply 72 by 2. You have to multiply the saturated fat, 5 by 2. You have to multiply that sodium, 160 milligrams, by 2. Feel me? Okay. And then the one on the right side has 230 calories, right? 230 calories. So you have to do some math if you're doing more than one serving. And most products, it will shock you how small a serving size is. So if you are a nutritionist, you should really teach your clients how to read these labels. If not everything, at least the key points, like the serving size per container. Okay. Do we have another one? Yes, here we go. Sodium. We talked about that sodium content. Now remember, the recommended daily allowance of sodium is 2,300 milligrams. This product has 1920 1,920 milligrams of sodium per serving. So if you eat one serving, you've almost met your daily requirement. You can't eat any more salt for the rest of the day, right? And it tells you it's 83% of the daily value. That's a lot. That's a lot, because this is one meal, possibly a half of a meal, right? Because you're probably going to have something else to go with this. So, that is scary. So pay attention to those key things. Let's see. All right, so in the next module, we're going to do some label reading and action. We're going to look at some more labels, and you're going to dissect it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to help you to easily identify nutrition facts. So get ready. Let's get ready to ride. And I'll see you in the next module.